Hello and welcome to Extra Connections. I'm James R. Jr. here of JLJ Media. I am the JLJ of JLJ Media. Say that 5 times fast. And I love documentary films. This over the weekend, I watched documentaries on Big Bird, Carol Spinney. I watched one on Journey, which was very good. I'm a huge Steve Perry fan. And I watched one on the Backstreet Boys. I also watched another one that was like none of those three at all. And it's called The House We Lived In. And I have the son, producer, filmmaker, director of this project. He's going to explain to you at home what it is. We're going to talk about the film itself, how it went through. It is a trip about where you turn the camera in on your family, where you turn it around in on yourself, and one of the main subjects is your dad. We're about all of that. The film is out now. We'll talk about where you can find it. But help me welcome Tim O'Donnell. Hi, Tim.
Hi, James. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it and super pumped to have this conversation.
Yes, we've been talking already. We're fast friends already. But now we're going to talk about this amazing. So, congratulations. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been 12 years. I've been working on this film for 12 years, so it feels great to be finished with it and share it. And it just came out last month, so thanks. Thank you.
Well, I want to ask you because as a person, I'm also a content creator. We put stuff out like this. We put stuff out. It's a miracle some things get out anyway. It's just anything.
Totally.
There's so many different parts to this stuff.
Right.
The first question I want to ask you is, when did you know that you were basically coming to a close after 12 years? I always think when things go for a long time, there's stops and starts, there's this and that. But how do you know you're like, okay, I think the story is being told and I'm ready to start shoring it up.
Yeah, it's very unique. I don't think many documentary films have this answer. I've been filming for, 8 or 9 years at this point. Lots of things have been happening. My dad fell, hit his head, had a traumatic brain injury, was in a coma. I started filming when he was in a coma. He wakes up, he slowly learns how to live again, walk and everything. And anyways, there's lots of stuff that happens, but meanwhile, I was kind of being affected too, like you mentioned, this is a film about my dad, this is about my family, and it's about myself and my own kind of perception, all our perception about what memory is. If we lose pieces of our memory, are we still the same person? Lots of things, and it got the film goes pretty deep, I think. But I was having reoccurring dreams weekly. So it felt weird early on to sort of say that out loud because at that point in my life, I'd only been sort of making movies about other folks who had extraordinary stories.
Right.
So I kind of identified like, oh, there's something going on with me now. I'm part of this. And I had to figure out a path forward, creatively. So my wife, who's also a producer on the film, Allison, suggested I start journaling. So I started journaling, and this is years, right? And the dreams just keep coming. They're all about the old house, the kind of center of the film in some ways. It's about my dad, but it's about this house we grew up in that we unfortunately lost financially. My dad
Yeah,
just can't
that
remember.
was crazy too. It's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like the bank just was like, "Whoop, we're not too bad," But anyways, we lose the house while my dad had his injury. We knew it was coming, but still, And then my dad just can't remember the house, so I'm having these dreams about the house weekly, and I ended up. It was a funny call to call your parents and explain this, but I ended up scripting it out, my dreams, and then hiring actors to portray my family
uh-huh,
and recreating some of these dreams that are now woven into the film.
right.
And, saying, hey, Ma, hey, Dad, I've hired these actors and actresses to play you. It was a funny kind of meta sort of thing. But once we wrapped on those, wove them into the film and started, that almost felt like the conclusion. And, it's been years, right? I've been working on this film now, finishing it for a few years. And I felt like the dreams went away right after those things were sort of subbed into the film. It was wild. It was like we put it in the edit, and the next day I like literally, and it's been a few years now since I've had those. So it was interesting. It was like this taking a little bit of control. There's so much that you don't have control over in documentary film, and scripting it and kind of directing it in a way and making it your own. It felt like this healing kind of conclusive moment. And those dreams end up kind of popping up, in the film, I think surprisingly to most. But that was when, it felt like I can see the end, and I can actually imagine myself finished with this. And I'm still adjusting, honestly, to it being finished because it's been a part, I've been writing notes in my phone for 12 years. I've been obsessed with it in some ways. And I'm still trying to navigate not working on it.
Yeah, makes sense. Did when you originally started this project to when you're almost done, did the theme change for you? Did how did it change, or how did it change for you?
Yeah, for sure. Like, when we started, I filmed early on, he was in Spalding Rehab, which is like it's in Boston, but it's known globally as one of the best rehabs for folks with brain injury. And they said it was one of the more miraculous recoveries they've ever seen. He was in there for a few months. He was literally they didn't think he was going to wake up. If he does, maybe vegetative state, all the way from, learning how to talk again, learning how to walk again, the whole thing. So when he first got out, we put out a short film called No Quit, and that was adapted by ESPN. And it was cool. It made my dad a brain injury advocate right away. And then I continued filming, and we actually won IndieWire's Project of the Month, and got some focus, got some attention. But the film at that point was called Finding My Dad's Memories, and right then and there you can kind of tell like there's something different going on. I think the original mission of the film was like, I just want to like get my dad back. I want to find a way for him to remember what he can't and hopefully kind of go back. And I think this, as time went on, the real theme hopefully is like we're all changing. Like we're all, going through all these changes, whether it's a brain injury that's, super immediate versus something long term. Like you got to accept that. And so the film kind of focuses more on, what memory is, what does it mean to lose your memories and gain them back. But bigger, the bigger piece is just acceptance, being able to um, go through these changes as a family and learn to accept. So yeah, lots of changes. But from start to finish, it feels like, two totally different films.
Yeah, and I will make sure it says Pixela Films Gravitas Features release. Make sure I say that. It's on Apple TV and a bunch of play at Amazon and all that. Um, the thing that when you're watching your film, one of the things that always reminds me is that the mind is a very complex place that we still don't know everything about. You mentioned a second ago about your dad, they say miraculously claim. I had a situation where my mom last year almost died. They told us to say goodbye to her, the whole thing. And so we did. We went to goodbye. And the next morning she came back. I always laugh.
Wow.
She came back. They're like, oh, the thing worked, and she's all of a sudden she's away. We had like almost like you guys, like almost preparing for
Yeah.
the worst on some level, but they come back. But was that one of the things you probably learned in this whole process? The mind is not what I mean, it is mind over matter, it's mindset, it's all these things, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar, right? Like we had a priest come in and do last rites. Like it was, we
Isn't
all
that
said
crazy? I mean, just like
goodbye. Yeah. And now there's a whole film that's 12 years.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, like it was interesting. Like my dad's like a character. We're all from New England. Like I don't have the accent as much, but my dad's like,
it's a little there. It's a little there.
imagine like Goodwill Hunting's dad or something, right? Especially my older brother. My older brother's accent's like
Yeah.
great. But anyways, there are these characters, very interesting, kind of Lowell, Massachusetts, born and raised, huge kind of like a lot of dark humor. But he was never like prior to the injury, he would never get interested in space. Never. Like so weird for my dad to be like talking about galaxies and like
Oh, really? Okay.
the speed of light. And so it was interesting when he woke up, he started to get obsessed. He has this history of obsessive compulsive disorder. He was obsessed with, drinking. He quit that. Smoking. He quit that. Gambling. He still does it. You'll see it in the
Yeah,
film.
yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
gray area, which
I
I
like
think is
gambling too.
okay.
I understand. I kind of
It's
get
it's a gray, like whatever. So like these are things that we're gonna have open dialogue and just like. But
it.
anyways, he becomes obsessed with space, and it's like it is kind of perfect in a way, right? It's like we don't know that much about space. We know some things, right? And same thing with the brain. It's like so through the film you get this like, NASA archive footage, and it's this metaphor for Todd's new journey. But certainly, yeah, I mean, we're interviewing, we have like one of the head neurologists at Spalding, and he's on camera saying like, we don't know anything. Like I can't even tell you really much. I can suggest all these things and blah blah, but it's not. It's pretty wild. And the more you go into it, the you're like, how do we even function every day?
Right, no, right. He's no, right, exactly, right. Oh,
Yeah.
he's right. I've got, yeah, no, and the main, I mean, the whole family's in there, but the main subject obviously is Todd O'Connell, your father. And has he seen the film?
Yeah, yeah. Todd, my dad has seen the film, man, and he's seen it through different renditions. So, years ago, I had like a 3 hour cut.
Okay, oh, wow.
So as a family, we sat down and watched this 3 hour
Okay,
cut. And even from film festivals to our Impact Tour, so we had an Impact Tour, it was over 50 screenings last year,
wow.
to even now, the film has changed festivals, even festival to festival to the tour. And then even when we got a deal with Gravitas Ventures, like we changed the film yet again. So I think it was a month ago today, we had a family and friends screening, and that version they had never seen. The one that was going to be on Apple TV, it was new to them. So it was cool. My dad really, enjoys the film. He's proud of it. It's so unique, like what better thing could a person ask for, getting to make a film about their family and their dad. And on top of it, they're very like, my dad's very proud of it. We'll be at Dunkin' Donuts and he'll be like, my son made a film about me, and you might be embarrassed, but you know what? Don't like it, just let the man enjoy it. Like he's proud. Sometimes folks are looking at me like, what are you talking about? You made a what, But here's your, hot, chocolate, whatever. But yeah, it's what a man, what a journey it's been. And it's just really cool to like have this thing that we can all reflect back on and, what we've all been through and obviously help a lot of other people too.
Explain how. Let's go back to the beginning. Just explain what happened to him. Right, that's the whole impetus.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we tight knit family. I'm one of four. And I wrestled, and my older brother wrestled. So we're just like, we would hang out at wrestling tournaments. I don't know. It was just like the thing we did. My sisters were involved with different activities, but it was just like everything always went back to the mat through high school and college. So my brother wrestles in this tournament. He's police. There's something called the World Police and Fire Games. He wins a world medal in New York. Literally one day, we all drove home that night, and the next morning, everyone was woken up by a phone call from my mom saying, my dad just woke up in the middle of the night or in the early morning and just fainted, just passed out. Like literally just stood up too quick maybe and just fell. And from that alone, he had a brain injury. And luckily my mom called 911. He got rushed to the hospital. There was a neurosurgeon who happened to be literally leaving his shift.
Oh,
They
wow.
called back in. He had a craniotomy, so they opened up his skull within an hour and a half of the injury, which is saved his life because it was one of the worst brain bleeds that this neurosurgeon who's been there for 20 years had ever seen. That the impact was so bad and created contra-coup, so it's 2 points of impact. So we all get there, and he's already in surgery, and then we just had to wait. And he was supposed to wake up in a day or two, and then days went on, and then we kind of knew, we were in for it, for a bit. And my whole family just camped out in the ICU, and yeah, just and then I started filming my phone because I kind of was having a hard time just dealing with it, and it's just kind of escapism. Like I think we all do that maybe from time to time. I didn't intend to like make a film. I just knew I needed to like do something to sort of digest, so to speak, what was happening.
Yeah. Um, were there any things that were off limits?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we had a lot of hard conversations about uh, openly talking about gambling. There's obviously stuff within the medical field I had to be careful of, luckily Spalding was super supportive and they ended up buying the film, the short version.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, like once I finished that and use it to show patients, even today, they show patients, families, staff, so it's just like this short, it's like, I don't know, 18 minutes and,
That's
you
very
know,
cool.
unique kind of story to show
Yeah.
folks. But yeah, like in terms of off limit, like yeah, there's some medical stuff, but I think as a family we all talked and it was really hard. It's hard to, Todd's a character. You're gonna get to see my dad in, some vulnerable moments, right? Where he's emotional or he's, learning how to talk again and think again and all that. But then there's the other side of vulnerability of like, my dad's great, like we all are. And, sometimes you watch these films and it's like this hero and this, never does anything wrong. It's very, out there. We put ourselves out there for sure. And I think that just goes to our family, and I'm lucky. Like my family's amazing and we've been so tight and I think this film made us even tighter, but yeah, we're going to talk about this thing and you can put the pieces together about why we lost the house and you know um the dark sides of his various addictions, but overall we just keep the conversation going and and you get to kind of navigate that journey through this film.
But and you do, and that's one of the things I like is that it's you said something that just hits on the nail. Not everybody's a hero. Not everybody, not everybody's like the magical person who's perfect, no flaws. Like some of these films will portray that. You're like, no, this can happen to anyone, and we're
Yep.
all three dimensional. We're all there's many sides to all of us, and I'm a father. You're a father, right? You're a father as also. So that we're not. I mean, I'm not the. I was a good father. My kids are grown. They're alive. They made it. I didn't drop them except once. First year. So they're fine. But I mean, I'm being joking in the sense that I just said we that no parent is perfect. Obviously, it's the whole thing of
Yeah.
perfect. But men, especially, which I appreciate that here you are filming this dude who is your dad. You've become a father within that time too, and you're a dude also, but you're also a film. So I mean, how do you navigate all those hats and sides to that? Because it's not just like you're not doing something. Like you said, you've done other documentaries, but other things. This
Yeah.
is your dad. This is you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's like, I mean, I think in some ways, like, yeah, like there's story, you're gonna get, the different arcs for sure, but like, it's kind of a lyrical film. It kind of goes in and out of abstract, these dreamy moments. We brought my dad into these like projected installations. He's as he starts to get his memories back, he gets them back in the form of dreams. So he's having these dreams that are actually his memories, and we're trying to portray this in different ways. And there's over the years, there's different versions of the film that are a lot more voiceover or a lot more information. We actually interviewed a bunch of experts. We ripped that all out. So the film, it shifts quite a bit. I think the beauty of getting all those different layers in was just a collaborative process too. The film, like, there's a lot of people that, were nice enough to kind of like put in a lot of time and not just like watch the film, give feedback. There is like multiple editors and producers who years been a part of this. The band Bon Iver even loved the film and essentially gave us two songs for the film. And I think it just I think all those things kind of together, and even the course of 12 years, I left my previous career 2 months before my dad fell and hit his head. And in some ways, this is kind of my first film
Oh,
that I got to start and finish six other features, and start up a company in that time frame. So you see those various stages, I think.
yeah.
But yeah, it's also the film I was meant to make for sure. Like it's the film anybody would want to make. It's the film you don't want to make in some ways. You don't want this to happen, but as a creative, you're like, this is the thing we all like at the end of the day, like, what do you want to do? Make something meaningful for family and all that. So yeah, I appreciate that. I just hope in some ways it's an open book for folks to watch and like there's plenty of abstract things in there for you to put your own kind of meaning.
Yeah. So I don't want just people to know that this is actually what he's talking about is actually very normal. to have different versions of film, different cuts of film, different versions of films for various things. So I just want people to know that it's a. I won't get heavily into the weeds. I could easily
Yeah,
do that. I love all
totally.
this stuff, but just saying it's that
Yeah,
you cut things. It's very cool that the hospital has a version of this, and so I like that. I like that whole that. But just I'm just letting people know that it's a common practice,
mm,
especially because certain festivals have. First of all, congratulations getting to festivals because getting into festivals is not easy either.
yeah, yeah,
There's a million films vying for spots in festivals. Whenever
yeah.
you know they are. I mean that's a job by itself. Is getting
Right.
into festivals. You know this. So congratulations getting to festivals. That's just a big deal too. But certain festivals have certain requirements, certain things they want. So I mean, so
Totally.
it's a common. I want people know it's a common.
Yeah, my first film, I think I applied to like 30 festivals, got
Woo!
into one, Roxbury Film Festival in Boston, like, and it was awesome. It was a great festival, but I learned, over the years, and I think we've had, we had a film that hit like 100 festivals, and there's all these niche festivals that you can go after, but it's interesting. Like you could, there are people, there's full-time jobs, right? There's
Yep.
impact, there's, and that's what they strategically and then getting to know the festivals, and that's a whole nother thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, sort of,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it was great. It was a great, also getting to go to festivals with my dad. My dad's amazing. Like so many Q&As were just like, standing ovation for my
Oh, I'm
dad.
sure.
And he's so good in person. Like he's really, yeah, he's money. But yeah, no, it's been a great run. Like, the past couple of years, like getting to share this film.
What have you it's always one of those things. I'm trying to ask this question. Um, I realized my parents were human when I became a parent. Let's make that statement. When I became a parent, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But you're doing something even further than that. You're filming your dad. You're living your dad stuff, then also filming it on camera. So my question is, what did you learn about yourself through your dad? But
Yeah.
also through filming your dad. It's like two parts to that.
Yep. Oh, totally. No, it's a great question. It's like, oh, first off, I didn't realize my parents had accents until I went to college. Like I remember coming back Thanksgiving break and being like, oh my God, my parents have crazy
You
accents.
whilst you were in Boston or whilst you were in Massachusetts, you
Yeah,
never hear the accents like
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it was a funny thing.
like
But
oh my
anyways,
god, they're from
yeah,
Boston. Yeah,
yeah. I was like having a hard time understanding them. What are you, yeah, and so
that's hilarious.
yeah,
Okay.
I think one thing that like jumps out, I mean, you're talking about being dad yourself. Like, I have a 6 and 4 year old now, and Dahlia and Felix were born while this was all kind of unfolding, and they know they're very aware. Todd, had a brain injury. I made a film about that, him, and our family and all that, and they're really understand. I think what's at play here, but my dad filmed us. Growing up, my dad taught me how to use the camera.
Oh, okay.
Movies that you see in there, and it is from my dad. My dad was the one who taught me how to use a camcorder, and and kind of like pushed me to do
Yeah,
it.
recorder.
But I unlocked all this footage because one thing we did is we just went through all the home tapes and digitized them, and you
Oh,
know
smart,
uh,
very smart, very smart.
lots of footage. As you can imagine, hundreds of hours, and I realized that I was a total jerk when I was a kid. Like that's what I learned. You know what I mean? Like, man, middle school years, oh, just like face purple red with embarrassment watching this stuff. And it gave me we do this thing of like feeling, in a lot of ways our kids are maybe, spiritually or something connected to us. Like we care so much. You could be anywhere at a playground, kids are yelling, whatever, and you're just so zoned in on your own kids and what they're doing and their behaviors. And in some ways to a default, like a problematic nature,
Right,
right? Where you're
right.
trying to correct all this stuff. And I just saw through those tapes how my parents parented and how they modeled behavior and how they, didn't turn a blind eye, but they didn't like harp over stuff that I was obviously doing wrong or being, just an a-hole, whatever. Like I gave myself grace too. Like I was like, all right, like I need to be easier on myself. I need to be easier on my kids too. Like even at a young age of 6 and 4, like we all do it. So like trying to remember that I was much more of a jerk than they are. And yeah, and I don't know. And then like making the film, it's like, yeah, there's some tough moments with both my parents in there. And you know, I don't have an answer. It's like we've been doing it so much that like it's just ingrained in my ethos, like this film has been a part of, a big chunk of my career. So it's like how I learned, how to digest, how to take, these vulnerable things and kind of like make sense of them. And I like my parents are unbelievable. Like I mean, I personally couldn't imagine my kids making a film about me. That's tough. And the fact that they were cool with this whole process, having screenings with hundreds of people, hundreds of strangers, and then let's have a 30, 40-minute Q&A about it and really pull apart everything. It's like, yeah, I mean, they're special, they're special people.
I get it. I mean, one of those things later in life, you'll be when you have other experiences and stuff. I'll
Oh,
come back to it and go, okay, now I can feel. I know what this feels like. It makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah.
It's like you've been in the trenches for so long. It's like coming home from war or something. Coming home from an experience where it's like it was every day. It was part of my life. It wasn't extraordinary, yet it was extraordinary. It was both, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? It's like both, right?
Right, right. And it's all the stuff that isn't in the film, right? Like
Yeah, right.
so many of us make creative, work. There's so much more that you don't see. And that's part of the beauty of the project and the process is like that's all here, the hundreds of hours of stuff that, isn't in it. Like that's I got to
Really?
experience.
And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, you said 12. I'm like, that's so. I mean, I cry when I have to edit like maybe 3 hours to whittle it down to a half an hour. I'm crying, but you're saying, I mean, you have hundreds,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
thousands of hours of. I'm saying tape because maybe I'm old.
Some
But
of it is tape.
some of it is tape. That's true. That's right. That's true. Some of it was tape. But I'm an old person. I say old sayings. But you know what I mean? It's like there was so much you had to go through to kind of whittle it down to a story. Um,
Yeah.
so congratulations on that too. I mean, and whoever helped you with that, congratulations with them too.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Oldmeadow, John Mercer, they're the other two editors, and Sam, works for Pixela and, been with him for 5 or 6 years now. He lives in England and I could only imagine even during the pandemic, he would stay with us a couple weeks on a time. And there were moments where, we're all isolating and he's working on this film about, his quote unquote boss. And that's pretty unique. And then my business partner John, he's been in it, and there were times when we would edit together. There was also times when we took the project solo, and so there is pieces from all of our edits in there,
Yeah.
which is super unique. And John is a tech wizard, and he developed a method on cloud-based editing, so you can do real-time editing. And this is the early days. Like I feel like it's more common practice now, but really interesting being able to get a Premiere project file, and it's changing, day to day, so to speak. Yeah.
Because folks, we're talking 12 years ago. Started this. We're talking the late 2010s, folks,
Yeah.
just or mid 2010s. We're talking a while back. No, a little even longer than that, I think. Well,
2011, yeah, it started. My dad
11.
fell August of 2011. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So we're talking a while back. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of things have changed right there. But then, that's very cool. Tim, amazing film. You should be very proud. Congratulations. You've also set up a legacy for your family. A lot of us don't have that. People don't have that kind of stuff. You actually set them for your kids, grandkids, their cousins, whatever, your family, a piece of life with your family. I mean, your story isn't over, thank God. It's still going, but you captured a piece of it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we're proud, and there's a lot of us throughout the Northeast, and you bump into a lot of folks. Oh, I seen No Quit. I've seen the house we lived in, and it's some folks, Todd's kind of legendary at this point, and he should be, a lot of people should know his story, and I'll never forget early days. We watched a film called Life Support Music, and it was about somebody who had a brain injury who recovered, and it was the only film I could find that was about brain injury. And on top of it, there's some other family that might get to see this and see hope. It doesn't have to be a brain injury. It could be anything, but I think about that stuff, and and yeah, and we're all super proud. The O'Donnells are super proud to have Todd's story out there and share it.
I want to give a shout out to the Brain Injury Association of America. There's a Brain Injury Awareness Month. As a person myself, I had a severe case of Bell's palsy back in 2018. Had my face was paralyzed, and I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
And so I had to relearn it. In 2019, I came back. And so I appreciate films like this, just showing that the mind is, don't take your mind for granted. Do not underestimate your mind or the mind. And if someone tells you something they say and they say it definitively, don't always believe it. You never
Mm,
know. People, it's individual. It's
mm,
individual. Some may say faith, some may just say determination. But I can tell you, there's things you can come back from. If that's what's meant to be, that's what's meant to be. And this film is a great example of the whole journey of that. And like I said, there's stuff that happens. You're like, oh my god. I mean, I felt for you guys. So many times I want to come through the screen and hug you guys. It
mm.
was this, or like, here's some money, here's something for like. There's all kind of things you'll feel stuff as you're watching it as it goes along. You're like, you want to jump in and help, but it's a film, so you can't do that. But go check it out. It's called The House We Lived In. And right now, he says it's on Amazon TV, Amazon, it's on Apple Plus, Apple TV. Where else can you find anything? Is it also video demand? Also,
Yeah, it's on demand. Most of the streaming platforms, you can find it. And yeah, we're excited to be out there.
yes, check it out, folks. I'm James Lott Jr. You can follow me where all James Lott Juniors are. James Lott Jr. We're all over the place. And JLJ Media and Extra Connections is on Facebook. So check those out. I'll put links to everything in the description, all that stuff, so you'll be able to find it. And I want to thank Tim for being on the show. And shout out to Todd. Hey, Todd. Maybe one day I'll meet you. I'll be out to Todd. And folks, take care of yourselves and just believe that anything is possible.
Mm.